This is Setting the Tone with me, Katie, and Ben Coda.
This is Setting the Tone, where you can ask Mark and Ben anything you want.
Within reason. Right, this is the first episode of Setting the Tone.
Setting the Tone is our podcast that is exclusive to people who have subscribed to us on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/lowering the tone. Setting the Tone is going to be based on questions that you ask and that you want to hear us having a chat about.
Stuff that we can't really discuss with guest producers, DJs, promoters, and the people that we get in to do Lowering the Tone, because it's a little bit odd if we shoehorn your agenda into their interviews. So we've decided to set up Setting the Tone, which is what we're doing right now.
And I guess, the questions can be anything, really. It can be about music, about life.
Love.
Love.
Not a good person to ask right now, me.
Right, okay. Anything you want, really. But we have had a question through. We put it out there earlier on today. We had a few questions through, so thank you to everyone asked us questions. But the one that we're going to discuss is...
Where do we start? Right, Volker the Snooze. Thank you for your contribution. It is something that we've touched on many times.
Do you want to read out the question and then...
Yeah, I was just about to read that.
Oh. I thought you were going to launch straight into the answer.
No. Be patient,
You are
Ben.
a pro, I'm sorry. I've been interviewing all day.
But yeah, Ben, we must say that Ben's just interviewed Tongue and Groove.
Which was really good. Yeah. Excellent.
So he's straight off the back of that. But we have a question from Volker the Snooze, and it is a question that has come up many times, but I've never really kind of got involved in answering it myself. I've normally offloaded it on my guest.
We kind of touched on it because we did a podcast together just before Lowering the Tone was launched. I think we sort of touched on it a little bit then.
And it is.
Yeah, and it is.
What do you think about the current state of breakbeat? He feels that it's getting better. And I say getting better, I'm kind of guessing that he was slightly disillusioned with the booty bass. I'm guessing, I'm reading between lines, maybe I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. From my personal point of view, it's quite difficult, because I've always prided myself from coming over from the techno and house side of things to breaks, not from drum and bass, not from hip hop. So what I like in breaks is some substance, some depth. You know, I like to go to a club, listen to a DJ, take me on a journey and lose myself. Where I think breaks took a little detour into where it is now is that it's become very much a party scene. I'm not putting it down. This is a personal choice. But for me personally, I kind of feel that there's no space for what I'm about or what I like about break. Whereas there are other genres that, I use because the genres have changed on Beatport, now progressive house is actually progressive house.
Because they've taken all the EDM out of it.
They have, yes, which is good. And well done, Beatport.
When we say EDM, we don't mean like dance music. It's like the EDM, the noisy stuff. The stuff that's labelled EDM.
Well, progressive has now become progressive.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
And a lot of artists have started to introduce and incorporate breaks within their sound, and that's something that I've always enjoyed and I've always liked. And the music now takes a little bit more depth. It seems to me that there's no space for that in breakbeat, in the genre breakbeat at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll change.
Yeah.
It's just anything that's got a bit of depth and is quite linear and is a longer build to people that love breaks now, it just sounds boring to them.
Yeah.
Because they want instant gratification.
It's become a bit more like kind of, I guess, sort of party music. I mean, the thing that I was thinking in my head just a minute ago was like when drum and bass kind of, the whole jump up element came in and it became a bit more throwaway and it became just about raving to and stuff like that, and it just became a bit more.
Would that have 16 bars of music and then it'd be a drop?
Yeah, and it kind of, there was a lot of deeper stuff, like the more liquid stuff or the more sci-fi stuff, like Ed Rush and Optical and those kind of guys. But then there was the jump up kind of sound, which is good fun when you're out partying, but it's not got a lot of depth to it, as you're saying. It's not the kind of stuff that is really going to take you somewhere. And maybe that's kind of where the breakbeat as a genre, I say it as a genre in inverted commas, I don't know, it's kind of like, because there is still breakbeat out there that does have depth to it, but the stuff that's kind of become the norm in breakbeat is that kind of slightly more throwaway stuff. I mean,
I mean it's the bish bash bosh,
cookie cutter. I mean, I've never really considered myself a breakbeat artist, but I was always doing sort of my style of techno on Lot 49, which was predominantly a breakbeat label, or has been.
I'm going to interject right now. I think one of the reasons why you done really well in the breakbeat genre is that you had big snares, and big kicks.
Had that feel,
So you had chunky drums,
and
let's face it, breakbeat people love big drums, and that's why I think that they gravitated. We were allowed to, some of your tracks hung around in that chart for like 3 months plus, some of them. And that's not because they're breakbeat, it's just it had the breakbeat sensibilities. And that kind of went to show that I guess that some people do want that. It's just that labels don't want to, labels won't take the risk.
No.
They're like, we're just going to follow the flow of what is acceptable in breakbeat. And no one's, they don't want to jump out of it.
Yeah, I think the problem that I've had, since I first started, is actually finding a home for the type of music that I write, because it doesn't kind of fit in to a particular genre. It kind of crosses genres, and especially since the prog house section got kind of diluted with all this EDM music. So finding Lot 49 at the time for me. It kind of became a home for me because, A, it's a UK-based label, and it's great to work with people in your own country, and B, Mark, you're very willing to push the kind of progressive techno stuff that I was writing, because it kind of had that kind of crossover, I think, with kind of the breakbeat sensibilities that you're talking about. But at the same time, it all got put in the breakbeat section because
Lot 49 had a long history
time of being in breaks.
Ironically, our biggest selling tracks on Lot 49 were techno tracks. Dubfire. Marco Bailey, Lutzenkirchen, Dino. Some of the biggest tracks that we Audio Jack. Some of the stuff, the biggest releases that we had weren't breakbeat, but we weren't defined by that. We were defined by what we had done 10 years previous. This is the thing when you've been going for a long time. First time you have a hit and like a success, that you're defined by that. You're not allowed to move after that. But things have changed, and we are allowed to indulge ourselves. As and I don't want to say as an artist because it makes you sound like a dick, but as someone that wants to be creative, you'd love to have the room to maneuver.
And you want to have a home as well. That's the thing that I've always, as I said before, I've always struggled with. And I guess that's the great thing about lowering the tone now is that there's not that kind of, there's no baggage there at all, and we're able to kind of put music on there that we feel represents us as artists, and the crew that we've got around us as well, who we're working with, and it's all top quality stuff, and it doesn't really fall in that niche of this is breaks or this is prog house or this is that or the other. It's sort of somewhere in between. Especially in between the progressive and the techno sections.
And that's quite broad. I think Matt Dopamine, I worked with him last week, and he wonderfully said, well, you're the most techno label in progressive, and you're the most progressive act in techno, and that kind of pretty much sounds right.
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
It's hard. Sure. It's hard to sell in techno because you're up against some very stiff competition. So anyway, Volker the Snooze. I hope that clears it up. With regards to breaks, it's not because we feel that we don't like it or anything like that. It's just, unfortunately, the scene's gone. It's kind of almost disattached itself from anything that isn't beats.
Yeah.
You have to be that certain style. You have to be that sound. Handful of labels that are doing really well at it, and good luck to them. Good luck to them. It's just that unfortunately we just haven't really got a place in that pecking order.
Yeah. I think though, because listening to some new stuff, especially I heard a new Sasha track that had gone up. He put a preview up on Facebook. I went and saw Massiaplex last year. And he was playing like kind of old school breaks, like old school hardcore stuff as well. And there seems to be that kind of the breakbeat is coming back in, but as with everything, it's kind of all slowed down a little bit, and they're kind of putting it over house beats and giving the kind of they're almost using it as a way to freshen up house music or prog house music or techno, but with a breakbeat over the top.
Yes,
but ironically, it's kind of sounds a little bit similar to the stuff when I first started getting into breaks, which would have been in the late 90s and early 2000s when when it first kind of like started emerging, but it's almost like that's coming back around again.
Well, Paul Walford is a house legend, let's be honest.
Yeah, of course he is.
His special request act it's kind of authentic old hardcore stroke jungle, and people are lapping it up. Rinse FM has been obviously like pushing this because of their roots. And it's worked really well. And if anyone that's listened to the interview that I did with Chicago Lou with Ant, he mentioned Paul Maddox from Spectra.
From Spectra,
he's got a new project and it's rave based, but it's also house. So
rave is coming back, maybe. Rave is having a little resurgence.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago since Steve Angelo was doing the rave house. And that worked really, really well for him. And I guess the allure of money
I remember
took him away from that.
I remember we used to... when I was going out to kind of jungle parties and stuff in the late 90s, there was always the hardcore rave element there. And their slogan was always "Hardcore will never die." And we were like, yeah, well, whatever. But maybe it won't. Maybe it's never going to die, and it's always going to keep coming back round.
Well, everything works in cycles.
It does work in cycles.
It does.
So maybe this is a cycle for something to come through, but maybe it won't be classified as.
Well, UK
breaks.
garage is now called bass house.
Deep house.
It's got a house now, I guess.
It's house. Yeah.
So you got any more questions? Do you want to roll a question? Ben?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we could have a chat about the Will Clark podcast, because this is going up about the same time as that's going to go up onto Patreon. So,
I'm looking at Facebook and the questions are popping up as we're doing it.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, this is the thing about doing this podcast. We literally posted up 20 minutes ago, so anyone that's asking questions, we are literally addressing them like 20 minutes later.
Okay. Yeah, right. I've seen a few pop up. Garrett Hodder has asked, what are your thoughts on the current, in inverted commas, EDM scene versus the music scene when you started? Do you want me to start with that one?
Yeah, you go.
Because, I mean, I've been doing this for many years. I've been DJing for about 20 years now. And when the term EDM first sort of came into being, it just was, from my understanding, an American way of saying dance music. They called it electronic dance music.
Electronica.
Or electronica, So there wasn't this EDM scene, which kind of, it's almost like the music has been...
Hello. Did you want ice cream?
Do you want ice cream? It's an ice cream man outside.
Keeping it real.
Yeah, keeping it real. I might go and get one, actually. There wasn't this... Should we wait?
Back in 5.
Back in 5.
I wonder if we can hear the ice cream
I was just
van.
about to get on a roll then. I wonder if you can hear the ice cream van through the microphones. Oh.
Okay.
Right, it's gone. Right. So where were we?
EDM.
So Grant Hodder has asked, what are your thoughts on the current EDM and inverted commas scene versus... Garrett Hodder. Sorry,
Grant.
Garrett Hodder has asked, what are your thoughts on the current EDM in inverted commas scene versus the music scene when you started? I mean, I've been DJing for about 20 years now, and the term EDM came in. I can't remember when, but I first started noticing it for when Americans started talking about electronic dance music. So it wasn't that kind of noisy shit that Steve Aoki and that lot play. It was actually just a kind of catch-all term to mean dance music. And then it seems that it kind of, I don't know quite what happened actually, but it seems like people started using it as a genre, a specific subgenre of music, which was the kind of loud, brash stuff that's, and it's almost become like, from what I've seen, it almost became like sort of rock music or like, very commercial dance music, primarily in the States.
Well,
Although
it infiltrated the charts.
Yeah,
I think that's where it started to turn.
Yeah, although I've played in other countries where, I've played alongside people, big names, who play in that same kind of music. So I think a lot of people kind of picked up the baton and started running with it, and then it seemed to kind of filter into the prog house section, particularly on Beatport, which is stuff we kind of mentioned this a little bit before. And then that kind of became progressive house, sort of became a little bit of a dirty word, because we had these kind of glory days. I was talking to Tongue and Groove earlier today, and we were talking about kind of the glory days when, Dean Orks and Beckers and Dusk and all these guys were doing amazing tracks that were getting up to like number one in the prog house section. And this must have been about 10, 12 years ago. But then all the EDM got kind of dumped in there, the EDM kind of sound of music. So I don't know. I guess I saw. I think it was on Vice. They asked a whole bunch of pretty well-established DJs recently what they thought of EDM, and Carl Cox's quote kind of resonated with me, which was that it's not necessarily a bad thing because it's almost like beginner dance music for people, and those people will then kind of. There'll be some people who'll just be into EDM and they'd just be into pop music because it's very easily digestible. But there'll also be people who'll listen to it and they'll go, wait a minute, there's got to be something a bit more to this. Like I did when I first got into rave music in the 90s. I was like, there's got to be more to this than that. And then you stick with it and then you kind of evolve with it, or you dig a bit deeper and then, you kind of... So there's always got to be a hook in for people into the dance music. So I don't think in that respect it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think... potentially some of the shenanigans and the way that people kind of use it as a definition for the dance music scene.
When they use it now, now it's used as a springboard to be famous.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
I think what Garrett's getting at is that back when we started making music, it was very much about the music.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter about how you looked. It didn't matter about your press shots. It was all about, were you making wicked music or weren't you? And that was what you were defined by.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, we're talking about EDM artists that they look like models.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
They press play on a computer.
They throw cakes around.
Well, I mean, you can knock him, you can't knock this.
Oh no, well, he's done well. He's done well.
With Steve Aoki. But when it comes to EDM artists, in my opinion, is that it's not so much about the music; it's more about the image and being famous and who they're hanging with, and the reality TV, and it's more of a they use dance music as a springboard for fame, and that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just saying this is how I look at it, and it just seems less about the music. So EDM stars for me, they're just they're fame hungry.
They're just famous people for the sake of being famous, and they're using music as a vehicle to get famous.
That's it. That's my opinion.
I guess it's kind of like, if you commercialised dance music, that's about as far as it could go in being commercial.
It's capitalism
Yeah,
at its worst.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just exploit all the worst areas of dance music and put it through the mill, and this is what comes out at the end of it. It's almost music just not important.
Yeah. Yeah.
You listen to it and you go, the music's awful. And, like my daughter looks at some of these guys and go, oh, but he's a really good looking guy. And look, he can dance. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
DJs can't dance.
DJs can't dance. It's missing the number one rule.
Yeah, that is the number one rule.
Hopefully that's just our opinion. Me and Ben obviously differ slightly, with our view on it. But Garrett, not what did you call
Gareth.
him? Gareth.
Sorry.
But yeah, Gareth. That's just an opinion.
Yeah. So we've had a few questions about studio kit and stuff. Should we just quickly whiz through those? I mean, it won't take long. So we've had Hector De Lima has asked, "What's your favourite album?"
Elder.
Oh God, I cannot read today.
Jesus, dude. I'm actually dyslexic. I got tested and I'm dyslexic. And I'm actually on the severe scale.
Right, okay. So let's start again. Helder De Lima has said, "What is your favourite outboard gear and favourite plug-in? Please explain as well." Okay. I mean, my favourite outboard gear, because it's the only bit of outboard gear I've got at the moment, but I have had quite a few bits and pieces over the years, is my Virus TI. Just because it's bloody awesome and it's got lovely filters on it. It sounds great.
Yep.
Favourite plugin? There's quite a lot. I just got Slate Digital plugins, which are some effects plugins, which are really, really good. That's basically why they're super quality, and you have to get an iLock to use them. But they sound really sweet. How you, Mark?
Me personally, I'm not using any outboard anymore. My favourite outboard bit of kit was my desk. Which I loved, but I don't use it anymore. Well, I've not got the space for it, and I sold it, and now it's gathering dust in my friend's loft.
Yeah, my desk is gathering dust as well. Yeah.
With regards to plugins, I've come a little bit of a full circle. I'm back on the Silenth.
Yeah,
which
Silenth is great.
I've come back to that.
It's my go-to.
I moved to. I was really enjoying Serum. Got a little bit bored of that, and I actually went back to Silenth, which I'm really enjoying. I'll tell you the person that really surprised me. I worked with Dopamine recently, and he had a load of new plugins that I was like, what's this? I was like a kid in a sweet shop. But when it comes to plugins, the most exciting ones, I like the Sound Toys.
Oh, Sound Toys, great.
Only because I only use them when I'm going to do something exciting.
And you can really, really kind of warp the sound off and make it sound really a bit
so
weird.
I use them for breakdowns and use them for something. As soon as I think, right, I'm going to do something interesting in the track, mark the track with something unique, I use the Sound Toys. Crystallizer.
Crystallizer's great.
Only because I kind of get it up. Once I've got it right, I do a take, I bounce it down to audio, and I've got it.
And you can chop up the bits out of it and stuff. Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. We're geeking out a bit here, but that's all good. And we've had another question from Danny McMillan. This is for you, Mark.
My mate Danny.
He says, he wanted to ask about the fact that you are a complete wind-up merchant. You apparently used to drive Rennie Pilgrim mad, and he remembers when you first met, you fucked him up for days on New School Breaks Forum. I remember New School Breaks Forum. You had Bieber going mad with the Uptown Connection name hijack, and I'm sure you've given Marvin a few sleepless nights also. Do you care to explain?
Yeah. Hi, Danny. I've got to say, I just got onto like the forums. I was a bit of a novice with it, and my immediate approach was like trolling. It's like I was like the original troll. Is the Danny
invent trolling?
Danny was promoting something. Danny's a very talented producer and DJ, and he used to record as Uptown Connection with Kevin Bieber, who many of you would know. What was it? Tsunami One.
Oh yeah.
They used to work with Adam Freeland.
Wicked.
But Danny and Kevin had a really nice project called Uptown Connection. So Danny was promoting something, and he's promoting, and I was like, oh, fucking, this is great. I'm going to wind him up. So I posted in like pidgin English, like I can't remember what I said. I was like an Israeli trance DJ, and I went,
a fake profile.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I did actually. I was with Marvin in the studio. And thought this would be funny.
Yeah.
Now this is deemed as like taboo.
Trolling
but at
to
the
the
time,
max.
this was so. I mean, this had just started. So at the time, we just thought we thought it was funny as fuck. But I always knew that I was going to tell Danny it was me.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm a trance DJ from Israel. You stole my name, Uptown Connection. And Danny was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, you know what I'm talking about, Danny McMillan. And I just was trying just to create a funny reaction.
Yeah.
I could see Danny was losing his shit because at that point, nobody had trolled anyone. So it was like, I could see he was losing his shit, and the more that sorry, Danny, it was funny though. It was very funny. Me and Marvin were sitting in the studio just pissing ourselves that you'd bitten. I was thinking, why would a trance DJ be on New School Breaks? And obviously, Danny got caught up in the moment, not thinking about the clear picture. Going, who the fuck is this guy? And anyway, so I just wound Danny up rotten, and in the end, I think he just rumbled me. I think he just figured out it was me doing it. Yeah. It was funny at the time, but in hindsight, now I look at trolls and go, "You're an arsehole."
Yeah.
But the thing was, I knew I was being an arsehole, but I always knew that I was going to tell him. I was just on the wind up, and I would like to say that I've given Marvin sleepless nights, but that's not true. He's given me sleepless nights because he's 10 times worse than me. So I mean, there's the story. But thanks for getting involved, Danny, and I hope to see you soon, mate.
Okay, they are coming in thick and fast while we're doing this, which is great. We've had one from Andy Companies. I said it right.
Yeah.
Woo! He has asked, would you say hair is a hindrance to being a musician? Very few dance DJs have long hair, although James Zabida is one. Can you name any others who have long hair? That's 2 in-depth questions for us both. So I think the first question is, would you say hair is a hindrance to being a musician? Mark, what do you think?
If you're playing guitar, I guess.
If it's really, really long, it could get in the way of playing guitar. Yeah.
Freak Nasty, very, very long dreads, doesn't seem to hinder his career. In fact, he's defined by his hair.
I've seen quite a lot of MCs with long hair. Well, they're not really musicians, are they? Or are they? Oh, is that a bit controversial?
A lot of MCs are going to be up in arms about that. They're not real musicians.
Singers.
But they don't sing.
They don't sing. David Guetta's got quite long hair.
Yes, and lovely hair.
Is he a musician? Don't know. But there's quite a lot of DJs who don't have long hair. John W. Fleming's not got any hair. He's part of our club.
I think a lot of DJs lose their hair through stress.
Yeah, probably. It all goes in your 20s, just through like the DJ lifestyle.
They're so dedicated on their art that they lose all their hair in stress.
It just falls out.
Well, I did.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, mine's gone. Yeah. So I don't know if it is a hindrance to being a musician, but I mean, it's an efficient haircut. So if you're travelling around, you don't have to wash it if you're on tour, which is quite good.
Yeah, and your headphones don't get caught up in
your hair. They don't get covered in sweat, which is pretty rank.
Yeah.
I've played back-to-back with Chris quite a few times. And
shared headphones.
Oh, it's disgusting.
No.
It's absolutely minging. Because he sweats a lot and it all gets in the hair, and then you put them on, it's like, oh.
I did that with Shaq, and it was like putting 2 sponges on my ears. It was awful.
Absolutely disgusting. So I think that's I think hair is potentially a hindrance to being a DJ, not necessarily a musician, and there's a few around with long hair, but I think you probably got to shave it off if you want to get anywhere.
If you're a man.
Women
can get away with it.
Yeah. So we had another question, not a question, a suggestion from Nick Berta, which was just drink 2 beers and talk about anything. Which we kind of considered doing. We did have 2 beers.
And we had a shot of Sambuca on a Tuesday afternoon.
Well, this is a special occasion.
When in Surbiton,
yeah. But we thought we wouldn't talk about anything. We'll ask and see what people come back with. And I think we've had some quite good stuff to talk with for the first one, actually. Talk about the first one. Yeah.
So thank you for everyone that's got involved. Yeah. I know that this is a short podcast, considering all the stuff that we normally do.
Short and sweet.
Anyone that is interested, we're going to do this once a month. Fire over questions. We'll address them. We'll blast through them. Don't get me wrong. Some of you might disagree with our opinions, and rightly so, because we're often wrong.
Yeah.
If we've said anything in this podcast that you feel is stupid,
or you don't agree with us, or
highlight it, and we will address it next podcast.
Absolutely.
And thank you for getting involved.
Thank you very much.